Have you ever started a spreadsheet and just kind of added a record here and there, maybe on a daily basis even, but you find that as the information is coming in, it's in kind of a random order. So after you've worked on that spreadsheet for a while, you realize that you would like to organize it a whole lot better, and whether that's by date or by last name or zip code or any number of other determining factors, you just need to have it organized so that you can understand what's going on in that spreadsheet, and anyone else who looks at your spreadsheet can understand your information so much better. Well, you may consider sorting in Excel. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the Consumer Technology Specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library, and let's look at all the different ways that we can sort information in Excel. As we look at our example, we can see that this is a listing of people's first and last names and the cities that they are from. And in fact, this is a metropolitan-wide math club that kids have been invited to join. And so as they walked in the door at their very first meeting, the sponsor just simply wrote down their last name and first name and the city that they are from. Later on, these kids will compete against other metropolitan areas. So for now, they are from 4 different grade levels. And as the practice sessions begin, the sponsors will hand out little quizzes that will be a kind of an introduction to that session's practice problems that they will discuss. All of these problems are probably beyond, well, definitely what a freshman would know, but even possibly beyond what some seniors would know. And yet, if they compete with other groups, it's probably information that they do need. So they're keeping track of their scores, or at least their initial scores, and then they spend the rest of their practice time learning how to solve those particular problems a little bit better and easier. But as we look at this list, it's just kind of disconcerting that it's not in alphabetical order, at least by last name. So how do we sort this? Well, we simply click in that last name column. We don't select the entire column, we just click on a cell. And in fact, let's look at Christopher Parsons here, because he'll be a pretty good example for us. He's just a sophomore, but look at that, he made 195 and 100 on whatever those practice sessions were. And so as we sort, we may want to make sure that Christopher's information follows along with him. Well, to sort, we need to be sure that we're on the Home tab of the ribbon, and then we'll go to the right to the Editing group where we have the Sort and Filter button. We'll click the drop down, and I think our first sort is just going to simply be Sort A to Z. So we'll click on that. And now as we look, we still have Christopher Parsons, but he's moved down in the list a little bit. He's still from Raytown, he's still a sophomore, and he still has the 100, the 95, and the 100 for his initial scores. So just by clicking in one cell, we can sort an entire column, and as we sort that one column, all of the information connected to that particular row moves with that person or whatever the information is. And then we can see that we have, well, Brewer, Donaldson, 2 Donaldsons, who knew, and a lot of other people, but now we are certainly A to Z. Well, we might also decide that we want to see who the older kids are as opposed to the younger kids. So if we decide to sort by grade level, we could do that as well. So we could click again anywhere in this numeric column. This time, go to our Sort and Filter, and let's sort the largest to smallest. So we want to see the seniors on the top of the list and the freshmen at the bottom of the list. So we can click, and now we have seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and it's even somewhat kept some of that initial sort along the way, but we can see that, oh, we have two Donaldsons. They're from different cities, ironically, but they are both seniors. And then from there, we can look down, and here's our buddy Christopher Parsons, who is a sophomore. So all of his information has carried through yet again, and we've now sorted A to Z and then largest to smallest. If you find that you would like to do a little bit more with your sorting rather than just clicking in one column and doing a very simple sort, you may find that you will prefer to go to the Data tab above the ribbon, and it is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th tab. And then as you go to kind of the right-hand side of the ribbon, you can see that there's a sort and filter group. And now we have 3 buttons that help us sort. The very first one is A to Z. So let's see, let's go to the city this time and do an A to Z sort. And so now we have Blue Springs, Independence, Kansas City, Lee Summit, Raytown, alphabetical. We could also do a Z to A sort. So let's stay in the cities and just reverse that order. And that was very easy to do as well. But now we also have a very much more expanded way to do sorts, and that's by using this sort button. So let me just click on it so that we can see that we have now a way to sort by, and we can then select the different column headings and say, yes, I want to sort by this column or this other column, or maybe a combination of columns. I can sort on cell values, cell color, font color, or I can even use a conditional formatting icon, and we'll look at all of those. And then I can change the sort order, Z to A or A to Z, or come up with a custom list. So I have a lot of choices by coming to the Data tab that I don't have if I simply do a simple sort with the Home tab. For my first kind of more complicated sort, I would like to sort by last name and then by first name. Now, I was originally clicked outside of the data, and to do a sort, we need to click just sort of randomly in the data, but we need to be clicked where there is information and not outside of our list. So from here, we're going to sort by last name and then by first name. So let's go to our sort button. And it says, okay, well, what do you want to sort by? And we'll say, well, last name. And we do want to sort on the cell values, and we want to sort A to Z. Well, then let's add the first name, and to do that, we're going to go up to add level. And so it says, okay, you want to sort first by last name and then by what? So we'll click on the drop down, and we want to go by first name. And again, we're going to use the cell values, the text within those cells, and also A to Z. And a double check here in the upper right to make sure that it knows that my data has headers. I don't want the headers to sort within the information. And we'll click OK. And so now we have Debbie Brewer, the 2 Donaldsons in alphabetical order, David and then Dolly, and then we have the rest of the kids in alphabetical order by last name. Pretty amazing. Well, let's say that I would like to actually add in grade level first and then sort within the grade levels. Well, I can do that even though city as a column is in between that information. But let's see what that would take. Let's go to sort. And I don't really have a way to just sort of add something on top of last name, but what I could do is change this. So I could say grade level, and I want this cell values. You know what? I want that largest to smallest, though. I want to see the seniors first. Then I'm going to change first name to last name, cell values, A to Z, and then we can add a level, so we could say then first name, cell values, A to Z. We could have also used this delete level button and just simply deleted the first two sorts and then started from scratch, but changing the columns using the drop-down list also works pretty darn easy. So whatever works the best for you. And then we'll click OK. And so now we have our 2 seniors, our 3 juniors, our 3 sophomores, and our 3 freshmen. And we have within that list, because our seniors are both Donaldsons, David and Dolly, in alphabetical order. And then for the juniors, we have Brewer, Hardwick, and Wade. And then for the sophomores, we have Hedgepeth, Heine, and Parsons, and for the freshmen, Henderson, Perry, and Rodriguez. Now, this can confuse some people, so this is kind of a warning that generally you want to sort from left to right. And so if you find that people are confused that you are actually sorting by grade level first, you might consider moving this grade level column over to the left so that it is the first column, so it's a little more evident how you are doing your sort. If this is only your information and you know what you're doing, then it's not a big deal. You simply determine the sort order and find the data and use it as you need to. If you like to add color coding to your spreadsheet, then the idea that you can sort using the color coding is really a great help, and it adds extra dimensions to what you can do to your spreadsheet. So in this first example, we have a background color in most of the cells here. So let me just click because again, I need to be sure that I have clicked within my data and not outside of this list. And then we'll go to the sort button. And what we want to do is sort by, so we'll click on the drop down, and where we have our color coding is last name. And we could sort on the cell values, but that doesn't have much to do with the color. So let's come down to cell color, that's the background color. And then to the right of that, we now have some other fields that we need to fill in. So where it says no cell color, let's go with this third one, the yellow, I believe. And then we could say whether we want to put that on the top or on the bottom. We'll just leave it on the top. And then let's add another level. And again, we could say, well, last name, and for the color value, the cell value here, we want to put the blue on the bottom. Now we have 4 colors, so that's going to leave the middle 2, well, just kind of wondering what to do, and so there won't be as much order with those other 2, but we could work with that a little bit later. But for now, we're just going to put yellow at the top, blue on the bottom, click OK, and so yeah, that's what we have. Yellow at the top, blue at the bottom, and then we have these other colors in the middle. Now that we've sorted by the cell color, there is another way that we can sort by color. So let's move over to an example of font color. And here we've added font color to the first name. And again, just as a reminder, we need to click somewhere randomly in our list where all of our data is. And then from here, we can go to the sort button and sort by. This time it's first name that has the color applied, and we can sort on not cell values, not cell color, but the font color. And now we have some other information that we need to provide on the right of that. So we'll click the drop down and let's move blue to the top, and it even says top, and then we can add a level. So it says then by. So again, it's still first name, and we want to change the way things are sorted by the font color, so we'll select that again. This time we'll say, oh, we want red at the bottom, and we'll click OK. And now blue is at the top, red is at the bottom, and the one name that doesn't have color applied is in the middle. Now we have another way to sort, and that is by conditional formatting icons. So let's click on that tab as an example. And I'm even going to apply the conditional formatting icons here at the average. So let me go back to Home, Conditional Formatting, and we have all sorts of choices here. But let's look at the icons, and I'm going to pick a fairly simple set so it's just easier to see. And I'll click on these three triangles. So now basically we have sort of the mid range, which is these 87s, 85, 86. And then if you have an arrow pointing down, that means that it's lower than that mid-range, and then we have a couple of arrows pointing up, the upper range. Well, we can sort by this as well. So again, we just need to click in our data somewhere, and then we can go back to our Data tab, go to Sort, and this time we will sort by average, and we will sort on conditional formatting icons. And then we can determine the order. So we can say that we want, say, the green that's pointing up, so those are the higher scores at the top, or we could say that we want to sort kind of backwards and have the lower scores at the top. Well, let's go with the green on top, and then let's add a level. And again, it's average. We want the conditional formatting icon. We want that down arrow at the bottom, and we'll click OK. And so now it's really kind of easy to see who is doing really well and who just is initially kind of struggling and may need some extra individual attention. Now let's look at some different kinds of things that may happen, not as often as what we've looked at previously, but this could happen where you wind up with a list of something that could qualify as a custom list that Excel has already defined, or maybe you have defined. And in this case, we have just this random list of months. Rather than retyping the whole thing, because we can't really alphabetize these because, well, you know, the August would come then after April, and it would still be kind of a random list, wouldn't it? Let's click where our data is, and let's go to Sort. And it's even picked up because we have just one column that we want to sort by the month column, and we want to sort on the cell values. But the order, when we click on that drop down, notice that we have Custom List. When we click on Custom List, it takes us to where Excel has the default lists of the months and the days of the week. And if you've added any custom lists like I've done here, then you could even select your custom list that you have added. But we have just the months, so let's select that list and then click OK. And it even says now, here's the order that should be put in. We'll click OK, and now we have those random months placed in the correct order. Once in a while, you may run into a time where you've started a spreadsheet and you've put in your first set of column headings, and then as you add to that spreadsheet, you find that things just kind of get out of control, and you need to resort your columns. Instead of up and down like we've been doing, you need to sort from left to right, and Excel lets you do that. Now again, I need to click just in a random cell, and then I'm going to go to Sort. But this time, to get us started, I need to go to this little toolbar at the top and go to Options, and instead of sorting top to bottom, which is what we do 99% of the time, we want to sort left to right. Click OK. Then what do we want to sort by? Well, we really want to sort by row 1, don't we? Which is the months. And then we want to sort on the cell values. Now, the only thing is that order. I don't want to sort A to Z because, again, it's months. So I want to come down to my custom list and select the months. Click OK, click OK, and now I have sorted those columns by month, by the column heading from left to right instead of top down. If you run into a time when you need to use this, this can save you just hours of trying to fix your data. As I go back to our original example, there are some things that you do want to consider, and these are things that may happen that will cause a sort to not work quite right. For example, you might forget to check that box about not including your heading, or the fact that you do have a heading in the column that you want to sort. Be sure that you check that box, or the heading will sort within your data. Sometimes your data will have initial or ending spaces. You can't see that necessarily, or you can't see it very easily, but when that happens, then your data is going to sort irregularly because of those extra spaces. Once in a great while, you will find that clicking in just one cell to select the area doesn't quite work the way you expect. In that case, you want to be sure to select all of your spreadsheet that you want to have sort, and then you can sort and define things very easily. But you may, once in a while, if things don't work the way you want them, just simply select that entire area, and that should help. The other thing is, be sure to have a column header, because occasionally that becomes confusing if Excel says, so do you want to sort by column E or column Q? It just doesn't necessarily make sense. So let's look at one other example of something that you may see. So let's say that you say, oh yes, I really want to sort by city, and instead of clicking in just a random cell, you click on the column and select the entire column. Now, when you do that, and whether you go to the Data tab or whether you come back to the Home tab and you go to Sort and Filter and you just say, sure, I want to sort A to Z, then you are going to get a sort warning. And what this means is, if it asks you and you decide to expand the selection, then let's look at this first example. Independence, right? It is going to, if you expand the selection, it will take with that independence in D2, it will also take David Donaldson, grade 12, his 3 scores, and his average. In other words, it will take everything in that row and sort it wherever independence ends up. If you decide, on the other hand, to continue with the current selection, then that is exactly what you are going to do. You are only going to sort the city and keep everything else static. So let's look at that. Continue with the current selection, sort, and did you see how the city changed? But David Donaldson is still up here in row 2. All of his scores are still up here in row 2. They did not sort with this city. Now, I could see how maybe temporarily you would want to do that, but we now really have mismatched data. So let me undo so you can see that you have to be so careful when you decide to do that kind of a sort, and be sure then to restore everything to its correct placement, or then you'll find yourself retyping. So that is a real concern, but it's easy enough to work around. Just be sure that you read that warning when you do your sorting. To learn even more, visit our mymcpl.org MCPL.org/online learning page, where you will find some really great online resources, which include Universal Class, LinkedIn Learning, and Learning Express Library. Tune in each week as we introduce new videos on a variety of tech topics. You can find us at 1 o'clock on Wednesday and Friday and 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Be sure to find us on Facebook at MCPL 360, or if you prefer, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at MCPLMO, where you can find our MCPL Consumer Technology Resources playlist.